everybody. So this will be a quick video, but real quick, I do want to remind you that there was a handout given out in class that is really going to help you for the test on Friday. But here are some extra practice questions that you should know how to do in order to be prepared for our test. So again, remember, pause the video and then do the problem and then watch me do it. So here's the first one. Here's a table. Given this information, fill out the rest of the table and write two equations that would work for this relationship. Pause the video, and when you're ready, play it. So for this problem, the first thing you would have had to do is find out the constant of proportionality. Basically, what are we multiplying to go from A to B? And the way you get that, remember, is you divide 12. You always divide the y by the x. So when you do 12 divided by 5, you get an answer of 2.4. So that means you're multiplying the x by 2.4 to get the y. Well, that's going to help us solve the rest of our problems, because to get this one, I'm going to do 12 times 2.4. So hopefully you did that, and you would have got 28 and 8/10, almost 29. And then to go this way, you would actually divide by 2.4. So 8 divided by 2.4, or 2 4/10, you would get 3.3 repeating. Now, the two equations you would use. So first of all, the way it's currently set up is to find b, which is the y, you would multiply 2.4 times a. So that's the first equation that would work in this relationship. Well, we talked about in class the other equation you would use is what if the b was on the left and the a was on the right? Well, now we're just going to go ahead and switch up the 12 and the 5. So now, if you wanted to find out what the constant proportionality is, you would do 5 divided by 12. And when you do 5 divided by 12, you get a really long decimal. It's like 4.41666666. So if I'm rounding to the nearest 10th place, it's 0.4 or 0.5. This one right here, remember, does not make the 0.4 round up, so it stays as 0.4. So to get to A, I would multiply B times 0.4 or 0.4. And these are the two equations that you would have to write for the first one. There's only going to be 3 questions we're going to have to do. Here's another one. Say you're given this information and you have a line that's graphed. I want you to fill out the two tables, meaning I want you to tell us what is the x-coordinate and what's the y-coordinate. What would you label these two parts of the graph? And then third, I want you to tell me, what does this mean? Okay, go ahead and pause the video, try it. And then hopefully, now check your answer versus mine. So when it says it calls for 6 cups of flour or 2.5 cups of water, in this case, it actually, you know, I'll be honest with you, I kind of messed up a little bit. There really is no clear-cut x or y. So if you would have put, oh, I'm sorry, there is. I apologize. Hold on a second. Remember this right here? I didn't mess up. I'm so sorry. The 1 comma 2.4, that means 2.4 is our constant of proportionality. Okay? Now, if 2.4 is our constant proportionality, that's what you get when you divide y by x. So the question is, do you get 2.4 when you do 6 divided by 2.5? That's the 6 cups of flour for 2.5 cups of water. Or do you get 2.4 when you do 2.5 divided by 6? So hopefully right now you realize that the only way to get 2.4 is if you do this division problem right here. That is the y divided by the x. So the 6 is the y. So that means up here is the flour, the cups of flour. And I know that because it's always y divided by x. And the x is the cups of water. So this would mean that if you had 1 cup of water, you would have to use 2.4 cups of flour. Okay? You might want to rewind that because I spent the first 30 seconds talking about how I messed that up. But remember, you always can tell this number is always going to be the constant proportionality. So it's what you get when you divide those two numbers. So I had to figure out which way would I divide to get 2.4. And whenever you figure that out, remember, it's always the y divided by the x. So as soon as I realized 6 divided by 2.5 is 2.4, I knew that the 6 is the y and the 2.5 is the x. Last one. Which equation represents a proportional relationship? Select all that apply. Go ahead, pause the video. All right. So here's the answer. When you're looking at these, what you're looking for is when x is being multiplied, or when you're multiplying by one thing to get the other answer. So this would be proportional because you're multiplying everything by 0.3. Basically, to get from x to y would just be times 0.3. This would be proportional, and this would be proportional, because every single one of those, all you're doing is multiplying x by something. These two are not proportional because you're adding or subtracting at the end. Okay? This one is, yes, you multiply times 3, but you add 2. This one, you just subtract 8. And I'll give you a perfect example. If I have an x and a y, and I'm going to use this equation right here. So basically, I'm going to multiply x times 3, and I'm going to add 2. So when x is 0, I put a 0 in for x. 3 times 0 plus 2 is 2. When x is 1, 1 times 3 plus 2 is 5. And when x is 2, plug a 2 in, 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. If you look at these numbers, I'm not multiplying by the same thing to go from x to y. It is non-proportional. It's not proportional. And I hope that helps. And remember, you have 2 other things that are going to help you. Actually, 3 other things that are going to help you for the test. Number 1, go through everything in Unit 2 in your Learn Zillion book. Okay, that's 1. Number 2, you have basically a packet. It's 2 full worksheets that we worked on in class that you should have to study. And the third thing is, remember, we did a quiz is assignment, and you could find that by going to our class schedule, and there's a link on that class schedule. Remember, you could only take it once. All right, hope that helps.